Hey guys, first off, I'm apologizing for all of this. I don't know if I look bad, but I feel pretty bad. I feel kind of coldy today, unfortunately, which always stinks. But anyway, I have quite a few videos for you guys today, and I'm going to try to go through them as quickly as possible because my camera has just started to kind of mess up a little bit, and I don't really know what's wrong, so I'm going to try to go through these pretty quickly. This is going to be my July wrap-up, and first I'm going to talk about the books that I don't have with me. First is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. This book was amazing, 5 out of 5 stars. It was really creative. I loved all the puns. I love the way Norton Juster talked about knowledge. I loved the characters. The princesses' rhyme and reason were amazing. TikTok the Watchdog was really cool. Even Milo, the main character, was really cool. And it was just, reading this book really teaches you to look at life in several new ways at once. And I thought that that was amazing. And I would go into more detail, but I don't know how long my camera is going to last, so I'm going to go through these kind of quickly. So yes, that was incredibly amazing, and I can't believe I waited as long as I did to read it, but I'm also very glad I did, because I don't think I would have appreciated this book the same way if I'd read it when I was like 11 as I do reading it as an adult. Next up is Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. This book was amazing. It was nerdy and just a really good bibliophile book, which originally I just thought that's what it was going to be because it's set in a bookstore, and I thought it was just going to be your average, okay, guy works in a bookstore, let's talk about that kind of book. No, it wasn't. It was so nerdy because they talk about Google, they talk about computers, for bibliophile stuff, like, they not only talk about the books that are in the store, but they also, the main character and his best friend, just love this one book series, this one fantasy series, and it's a fictional fantasy series, but it just kind of reminds you when you're reading it of all the fantasy series in real life, like Lord of the Rings and stuff, and for me it reminded me that I really wanted to read the Mistborn books by Brandon Sanderson, and I now have those, and I'm going to read them, but that's beside the point. And the characters were just so cool, and the mystery starts sort of in the beginning, like, it's like you think that it's just going to be a normal guy works in a bookstore book, but then the mystery starts and it just builds and builds and builds until you're like, oh my gosh, something huge is going on, and it's fan-frickin-tastic. And Robin Sloan, like, since he's a first-time writer, I was kind of worried about this, because I was like, since this was his debut novel, I was like, yeah, I'm either going to love his writing or I'm going to not like it at all, because with debut novels, I'm never in between. I am always love it or eh. And the thing to me that he did that I just absolutely loved and caught my attention, was each of the characters has a very unique skill set that makes them who they are as a person, sort of, and also makes them essential, like, absolutely essential to the plot of the story. And I just thought that that was so cool. Like, no two characters have the same skill set, and I just think that's awesome. And the main character is so resourceful, and he's the one who brings all of these other characters together. So that was really unique, and Mr. Penumbra as a character is fantastic. He just, it was such a good book, and I don't want to go into any more detail because I don't want to give anything major away, but, it's just amazing. If you don't have the money to buy it, go to your library and see if they have it, and even if someone already has it checked out and you have to put it on hold, so worth it. I mean, that's what I did. I had to put it on hold for 2 months, and it was absolutely worth it. It was amazing. So yeah, 5 out of 5. It was awesome. Next is Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell, which goes under the Mr. Penumbra category of I had to wait for it, but it was totally worth it. This book was the book that I was most scared to read this month because it has gotten so much hype, and I was so scared that I was going to be like the one person who didn't like it or something, because I'm always really worried about that with bandwagon books, where it's like everybody reads it because other people say it's so good. And I was expecting a very typical teen love story. I wasn't sure if it was going to be like the love at first sight kind, but I don't know, I just feel like I was expecting a typical love story. And this absolutely was not only because it was set in the 80s, so it was like, that was really cool because, I mean, people were still listening to cassette tapes, and the main character, Park, he really loves comics, and all of the comics that he was reading, the original storylines were what were being released, and to me that's like so foreign because, I don't know, all of these characters are already created and already have their personalities and stuff by our time. Like, mostly it was like Marvel, like he's reading the X-Men and stuff like that. And also, so it was unique in that way because it was set in the 80s, and since I wasn't born until 1990, that was really cool to read about, people growing up in the 80s. And, also, what was I going to say? It was a very unique love story because, almost immediately into it, you find out that Eleanor actually has a horrific home life, and to me, that made it so much deeper, or that took the plot so much deeper and made it, so much more heart-wrenching, and just every scene that was set in her house was very difficult to read, and that changed the whole game for me of the story because it turns it from your typical teen love story to she really needs Park. Like, she has a terrible home life, and then because of her terrible home life, she kind of doesn't have what everyone else has at school, so because of that, people make fun of her at school, and so since she gets made fun of at school, and she has a terrible home life, the only person who really genuinely cares about her is Park, and it was so beautiful to read because it was so beautiful to read the parts where they were together, because it was literally like he was like her angel in her hell world that she just can't escape from, and it was beautiful. It was fantastic. I don't really know how else to describe it, but it was amazing. And I highly recommend it. I know it's been all over BookTube, so I know everybody probably has already read it, but if you haven't read it, read it. It was amazing. Okay, 8 minutes. Alright, I'm gonna go through the others, pretty quickly. What I'll probably do is I'm gonna go through my comics real quick, because those, I can talk about really quickly, and then I'm going to do a part 2 with, the last book that I read, and then the short stories that I read. Okay, so, of my comics, I read, here, hang on, I read Wolverine and the X-Men Alpha and Omega. This is actually volume 4, not volume 1, but it is a 5-part, it's a 5-part series, and it was really fantastic. I loved the writing, I loved the storyline, because with Wolverine and the X-Men, it's Wolverine, is the headmaster of the Jean Grey School of he was the headmaster, and it was also, just, I loved the artistry, I loved the writing, because I loved the way the writer was portraying all the characters. I thought that it was very true to how I see them, which, I know that's silly, but, it was really cool, and just the artistry. Well, this one is actually a variant cover, so it was a really cool variant cover, but then, I mean, this one is my favorite cover, because I love the detail, and I know that's cheesy, but I really love softer, I like softer art in comics, which I know is silly, because I know a lot of people, for superhero comics, they really like the kind of harsher illustrations for people, but I don't know. I like it when they look like people and not just like harsh lines. I don't know. Secret Avengers. This was a standalone issue, and I enjoyed it, but not as much as I was expecting. The storyline was kind of, how do I put it? It just wasn't as interesting as I would have wanted, or I don't know, I think I thought it was a little bit weird. Yeah, like, it was a little bit hard to follow for me, and the reason why was probably because I was distracted while I was reading it. Like, I think the TV was on or something, so it could be that if I go back and reread this entirely free of distraction, that I will love it, but, and then we have X-Men Legacy. This is the final issue of this, and it is a standalone, and I really enjoyed this one. I loved the art, and I thought that the storyline was really well done. And actually, I'm going to end this video a little bit early, because I really don't want to keep talking and then go over my time thing, because it's already at like 13 minutes. So in part 2 of my wrap-up, I will talk about the rest of the comics and the graphic novel that I read, and then the short stories and the last book. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in part 2.